Alright, so if we take a look at the IELTS 20 Test 1, we have a triple table situation, and we have quite a number of long strings of information we have to add, and it seems like a lot, but to be honest, you only have 6 sets of numbers times 3, right? So we got like 30-ish numbers to put in here, but when we want to group where possible. So we need to always mention what is high, what is low, what is changed, what is not changed. So remember that typically we cannot add a correlation between the graphs. So we just know the numbers here, but we are not given why the numbers are that way. So we don't ever put in our opinions, and we just need to put the factual information that's there, and we have quite a lot to begin with. So let's begin. So of course we're going to do a 4-paragraph system. We could write 5 because we have 3 different graphs, so each table could be its own paragraph, but we can kind of summarize the first one, the overall population of New York, rather briefly in a sentence or two, so it doesn't necessarily need such a large paragraph. So first we want to paraphrase our question here. So the first table shows changes in the total population of New York, 1800 to 2000. The second and third table shows the population of 5 districts. So these districts are called boroughs. It's a very specific term to New York. So Manhattan could be the largest one, but we're going to focus on these 4 boroughs and have Manhattan as its own thing, because we have it in its own thing here. So the other districts are those boroughs. So we want to say the given tables highlight the overall, or the population of New York City through the years of 1800, 1900, and 2000, as well as the distribution of populace throughout 5 distinct let's introduce that word, boroughs. Namely Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx. Typically it's called the Bronx, so I'm surprised they didn't put it that way. And Staten Island. Be mindful of your capitalization with proper nouns and common nouns. So overall, now we need to talk about the grand scheme of what it's talking about. Overall, as is witnessed in these tables, New York has grown substantially. Let's say grown a staggering 1,000%. Is it 1,000? 100%. 100-fold within these 2 centuries, and the districts have undergone what is the best term here? New York has grown to a staggering 100-fold, right? Because it went from 80,000 to 8 million. So this is 100 times more people. The districts have undergone significant population and most of the districts, because actually we can see Manhattan had a decline, and we have to make sure we mention that decline. What's the word? Changes? That's not a good word, but in details. So, Manhattan, the district, the borough of Manhattan was had been over 3 times the population of the other districts in 1800. So we can start putting the numbers here. This is one way you can do it. 6515 and this is 18701. Manhattan had been over 3 times the population of other districts in 1800. We can okay, and we want to emphasize that we have 60,000, 18,000, and the total population is 79,000. So we want to mention that this is a significant proportion of the overall population. So, which equates to roughly 3/4 of New York's total population during that time. And we're focusing on Manhattan here. So I'm not going to make much comparison just yet. I'm going to now show how it went from 60,000 to 1.8 million. Then we see a decline. And here we can see the 76%. Maybe we should put that in there actually. And change it to past tense. Equated to 76%. By 1900. this Manhattan's population surged to an astonishing 1,850,093, yet New York's populace grew to how much? 3.437 202, accounting. So this borough's citizens accounted for 54%. 100 years later. Finally, in 2000, this number had decreased to a mere 19%, with a declination of around approximately 300,000 inhabitants. To 1,538,096. In contrast, so now we've said everything we need to say about this. We've mentioned this number. We didn't specifically say the 79,000, but we don't necessarily need all of the data. In contrast, the boroughs over time, the amount of people living in the boroughs drastically, did I already say drastically? Increased. I'm very bad at math. 18, so that's 20K. So 550 times 6. I don't know. Is that 3,000%? The amount of people living in the boroughs drastically increased, making Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. You don't have to write them all again, but proportions. Of the total New York populace, 81%. in 2000. Eclipsing Manhattan by nearly 2.5, 250%. A 1900 to 2000. I don't know. Let's see how that goes. So, the given tables highlight the population of New York City through the years of 1800, 1900, and 2000, as well as the distribution of populace throughout 5 distinct boroughs, namely Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. I'm going to put the Bronx. Overall, as is witnessed in the tables, New York has grown a staggering 100-fold within these 2 centuries. New York. Okay, we want to say another word than people. Population. Let's say citizenry. Ooh. Has grown a staggering 100-fold within these 2 centuries, and most of the districts have undergone significant population changes. Let's say growth, which is true. In details, the borough of Manhattan. Okay. In details, I put which equated for 76% of the total population at this time. By 1900, Manhattan's population surged to an astonishing 1.85 million. New York's inhabitants. Coincidingly, this is a very long run-on sentence. Holy moly. Let's put punctuation. Coincidingly, New York's inhabitants. At the same time, coincidingly, New York's inhabitants grew to 3.4 million. So this borough's citizens accounted for 100 years later, right? I said that the same thing. Finally, the number had decreased to a mere the number of residents, the number of residents had decreased to a mere 19%, with a declination of approximately 300,000 inhabitants to, okay, in contrast, over time, the amount of people living in the boroughs drastically. Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. Let's make them all possessive proportion of the total near population. 81%, eclipsing nearly 250%. A population boom had happened. So this kinda should be first. The population boom had happened from 1900, whereby almost 5 million people called these districts home. From to okay, over time the amount of people living drastically increased. Alright, I'm happy with that. Access to clean water is a basic human right. Therefore, every home should have a water supply that is provided free of charge. Of course I agree. So, what's my plan? Everyone, so human rights are like food, water, shelter, peace, something like that. So this is where we can blame the government. The government should do this. Should ensure this water is given. And maybe this gives free of charge. We want to mention free of charge because it sounds like some places need to pay for it. Humans require, without a doubt, all humans require water to survive. Water, a fundamental human right for all global citizens to thus making water drinkable places around the world where people need to pay for their daily water needs. I firmly believe that they should be provided this essential commodity by the government, by their governments. Without the need for any payment. First, every nation has clean or the idea of having something not often considered, but not every nation has resources to either purify water for its inhabitants or have access to stores of fresh water in their environment. Thus, I can understand the need for some government, some agencies requiring their citizens to pay for their water, and perhaps contribute to the purification process, albeit considering everyone must have water, clean water, in order to survive, to sustain their lives. This, I hold the opinion that part of every nation's budget must be allocated to, what's another word for clean? Pure water. Safe water. Right? Ensure water is given free of charge. So I'm kind of mixing both of those up. All humans require water to survive, thus making water fundamentally. If providing that a country cannot provide to supply water for drinking. I feel as if they must. What a topic. Everyone needs it. You can't live without it. But it is hard to get. Consider how they operate their government as without cannot provide the infrastructure. Nah, you know what? Officials must do everything in their power to provide the infrastructures. Okay. And so that each person has adequate to fulfill their daily needs, providing that this could not be done, then the authorities should procure water from neighboring countries to give to their people so they can maintain their livelihood. The idea of how it is kind of not information that this could probably be another paragraph. Let's have, for example, if a rural community that has minimal businesses, minimal inhabitants to pay taxes that could be utilized for water purposes. This may be a reasonable request by the government to have people pay for water. Nonetheless, this seems to be a case by case circumstance from which the federal fee must oversee and ensure this would not be necessary. So these rural people could focus on other ways to spend their money, such as food and shelter. Everything in their power to provide the infrastructure to communities so that each person has an adequate amount of developmental their daily need time if it cannot be done in this day and age. Advanced technologies and support for communities or localities from water and drill wells. Opine, opine. I suppose. I surmise. That's good. I surmise. So that's fine. As long. Alright, let's see. It's probably 7.5. But I will do another one much shorter for examples for everybody. But let's see what we get. It's calculating. Oh, it is 7.5. Okay, okay. Grammatically, we're looking pretty good. What do you think, part one? Nice. Alright. So if I can refine this and probably take 100 words out, maybe we could get it to an 8. But for now, here's the first IELTS 20 for everybody to review, and hope you can use some of this for your own writing.